All right, we are going to talk about post-noun modifiers. And post-noun modifiers are simply things descriptions that come after a noun instead of before a noun. Before we talked about true adjectives and how they had to come before a noun to modify a noun. Now we're going to talk about phrases that come after a noun that modify the noun. Okay, this is before we start. There's a couple things that we need to talk about. There's right down here. You can see it says the adjectival prepositional phrases and adjectival clauses. Okay, also known as relative clauses. So we're going to talk about these. The adjectival prepositional phrase and the adjectival clausal. You can tell that these are groups of words, whether it's the prepositional phrase or the clause. These are groups of words that act as adjectives. Okay, this is basically what we're talking about. We're talking about groups of words. Groups of words that act like adjectives. Okay, whole groups, not just one word, but whole groups of words. Okay, and there's two types of groups of words that act like adjectives. One is called a prepositional phrase, as you've seen up there. Okay, and one is called a clause. Okay, so one is a clause or a relative clause, and the other one is a prepositional. And we're going to learn the difference between a phrase. We're going to learn the difference between a phrase and a clause, and it's actually very simple. So it'll be pretty easy to identify. So those are the things we're going to learn about. And so let's just take a look at a couple of examples that they have here of an adjective, a group of words that acts like an adjective in both a clause and a phrase format. Okay, if you can see down here. This is a little small down here, but this is what we're going to be reading down here. It says an adjective prepositional phrase, the house on the corner belongs to the smith. You can see that on the corner modifies the word house. That is a prepositional phrase. On is a preposition. It's the start of a phrase, and it tells where the house is, the house on the corner. So on the corner acts as an adjective modifying the word house. Okay. Now here's the difference between a clause and a prepositional phrase. The house that is on the corner. Okay, on the corner is a phrase, and then that is. Why is one a phrase and one a clause? Okay, this one is a phrase. Oops. This one is a, oh, that was not what I wanted. 1 second, excuse me. Let's go ahead and put that back the way it was, if we can. My goodness. Okay. Oh, there it is. Okay, so let's go ahead and bring that down. I apologize. I didn't mean for that to happen. Okay, so let's take a look at what makes this a phrase. Oops. What makes this a phrase? And what makes this a clause? It's very simple. The phrase only has a noun, has a preposition on, and then the object of the preposition, which is the corner. Okay, this is it has a noun in it, and that's it. That's a phrase. Okay, a clause has both a verb and a noun. Okay, it has both a verb and a noun that is on the corner. So is the verb, and on the corner is it just has an extra word in it, which is the verb. So a clause will always have a verb and a noun, and a phrase only has the noun. All right, so that's the difference, and oftentimes you can identify the clause with the word that. but we're going to see that it has a verb and a noun. Okay, so that's the difference. But let's take a look at a couple more examples and see what they have. Okay, it says before we can talk about these modifiers, we need to introduce a new term, which is called a noun phrase. And I think we've already, we might have touched on this already, but basically a noun phrase is the noun together with all its modifiers, okay? And we're going to talk about that here in a second. Down here, they give a sentence, and it says, the tall young man in the yellow jacket is my cousin. Well, man is the noun, and then the noun modifiers, the pre-noun modifiers, the man, tall man, young man, those are all pre-noun modifiers. And then in the yellow jacket also modifies the noun, and we call this a post-noun modifier. Okay, in the yellow jacket it tells which man, so it talks about the noun, so that's a post-noun modifier, is my cousin. Now a noun phrase is the little noun here, man, and all the other words that modify that word. That's the entire noun phrase. Now the cool thing about it is we can identify noun phrases by replacing the noun phrase with a third person pronoun. Okay, and any words that you replace with a third person pronoun, he, she, it, and they, for the subjects. Okay, and we're going to get to that in a little bit, but you're going to see that when we replace this set of words with one of these pronouns, that the entire noun phrase is replaced. Okay, and we're going to see that when we turn the page here. Okay, so a noun phrase, it talks about that, and then it talks about replacing the noun phrase, and you can read this down here, but we're going to get to where it does that. We can see here, the tall young man in the yellow jacket is my cousin. If that's the noun phrase, we can see that because when we replace he is my cousin. Okay, so when we replace this, man means that we have to have he here. Okay, and all this stuff disappears. All right, we can't say the tall young he in the yellow jacket, can we? We can't say he in the yellow jacket is my cousin. No, we have to say the tall young man in the yellow jacket is my cousin, or he is my cousin. So we're going to get rid of all the noun modifiers. The entire noun phrase is replaced with he, and you can see that that they do that in the on the next page, right here. It says there are four third-person pronouns for the subject: he, she, it, and they, which is what we have here, and then an object form: him, her, it, and them. Remember, the subject of the sentence is the thing that's doing the action. The object of the sentence has the action done to them. So it usually comes at the end of the sentence. So let's take a look at those. And if you want to go ahead and do a little snapshot picture, in your PDF, you can do a snapshot picture of this little group right here. So you have the all the pronouns that you need, third-person pronouns. But let's take a look at how these are used. And here's some sentences. I'm not going to do all of these for you, but I'll read an example of each. A small boy who looked about 5 years old came into the room. How did we do that? He came into the room. So all that noun phrase up here that's underlined is replaced. Let's take a look at a post-noun modifier, because these are subjects. Down here are the objects. And what is an object? Well, did you see a tall man dressed in a black jacket? Did you see him? So you can see that the reason it's an object is because it comes after the verb. Okay, and so that's why it's an object. Another one: please ask all the people who are waiting in the hall to come in. Please ask them to come in. Please ask who? Please ask them. So them is the object. It replaces this entire noun phrase. Okay, so that's what we're looking at. We're identifying noun phrases by using the third person replacement pronoun replacement test. Okay, so I want you to identify all the noun phrases, whether it's in the subject or the verb or the object, and replace it with the appropriate pronoun. And this is an exercise where we're going to practice that. And basically, I want you to read the directions here. But it says underline all the noun phrases, except ones that are just pronouns themselves. Okay? And then show your answer is correct by rewriting the phrase using the appropriate third-person pronoun. We're going to do a couple of examples together. Here it says, the book you asked for finally came in. It finally came in. Okay? So, they have commissioned a statue of him. They have commissioned a statue of him. Okay? This one's a little tricky because it's in the object, isn't it? They as a pronoun, and then you have the verb, but then a new statue of him. Okay? Statue is the verb, so we're gonna, or statue is the noun, a statue, new statue, and then the post-noun modifier of him. Okay, so we have that whole thing. So they have commissioned, and then I would write it, period. All right, so let's do another one. You should send it to all the people who might be interested. You should send it to people is the noun, okay? And then let's look at all the post-noun modifiers. All people, the people who might be interested. That tells what type of people, okay? So it modifies the word people. So that's a post-noun modifier again. So you should send it to, and then I would write them. So this, all these things get replaced. I would actually rewrite this. You should send it to them. Okay? Period. All right. So I've identified the noun phrase in each one of these things. Let's do one more. All of the presenters who have registered should arrive early. They, and then let me go ahead and underline the noun phrase. They should arrive early. That would be the sentence, okay? So they replaces the presenters is the noun, obviously. So we're going to, presenters is the noun, all right? And then all presenters. Oops, actually I might be wrong there. That's an object of the yeah, but that's still the whole, we're not going to get into that yet. So all is actually the subject, okay? So I'm not going to explain why unless you don't understand. Of the presenters modifies the word all. This is an object of the preposition, okay? Who would have registered? Another prepositional phrase that refers to, clarifies who all is. Should arrive early, okay? So they should arrive early. So that's the noun phrase. That whole thing in blue is the noun phrase. And then all is the actual, the subject, okay? All right. Well, if that was confusing, don't worry. As long as you can identify the noun phrase and replace it with the appropriate third-person pronoun. If you have questions, well, first, let's go ahead and take a look at how many you have. You're going to be doing all 15 of these right down to here, okay? So we're going to do 15 of those, and good luck. If you have questions, please come in before school, or you can stay after school, and I will definitely help you out. See you in the next video.